Thank you. Okay, it's crowded, I think. Do we have a couple of microphones? All right, Phil, you got one? Who's got? Who has the mic? I've got where's the mic? You got one right there. Where's another one? All right, one here, one there. I see three. Where's the fourth? All right, we'll start with three. Okay, you got one right there? Okay, who's got a question in that area? All right, you got a... All right.
Wow, this is awesome. You're the man, Bernie.
Now that's a tough question, but I'm prepared to answer it.
I'd like to hear your stance on encryption backdoors with the government. I'm a cybersecurity major going for my master's, even with the 11% interest rate, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'd like to hear your stance on encryption backdoors.
I think you got a difficult issue. On one hand, you're looking at a guy who voted against the USA Patriot more than once, who is enormously worried. I tell you, this technology is exploding, so it's not just the government that you have to worry about, it is also the private sector who knows more about you and your lives than you know about you and your lives. It is a very dangerous situation. So that we got one hand, and we have got to, I think, rethink public policy in a way that we haven't, given the explosion of technology in those areas. On the other hand, what you do is have ISIS and some people who are using social media to communicate with each other, and we've got to deal with that. So I think there has got to be, and I think there can be, a way that we protect the privacy rights and the civil liberties and the constitutional rights of our people while we also impede the transmission of information from terrorist organizations. It's a tough issue, and it is not black and white, but I think that's kind of the dynamics. But I will say, we didn't talk about this enough. Our privacy rights are under massive attack. Massive attack. And I get amazed that, people go, well, I believe in freedom, but I don't really care if the government is getting information from my phone calls or going into my internet sites or intercepting my emails. That's wrong. So I think we need a very serious discussion in this country about how we deal with terrorism, no question about that, but at the same time protect the constitutional and privacy rights of the American people. Thanks for that question. Where's the mic? Mike, where's the mic in there? Yeah, okay, go.
What is your feeling about public service, mandatory public service, either military or in the civilian sector?
Thank you. Very good question, and it's something I've been asked and thought about for a while. Everyone hear the question? The question is kind of public service. It's an opportunity for young people to serve their country in ways other than the military. Is that your point? So I think we should make, whether it's mandatory or not, probably not, but I do believe we should make public service with decent pay available to our young people above and beyond military service. There's an enormous amount of work that needs to be done, a lot of young people who need that work, and I certainly would look sympathetically to that idea. Where's the, yeah, okay, in the back there.
Hi, I hear you talk a lot about college and that sort of thing, and I'm about to be a college graduate myself. The question I do have actually is public school. I graduated from a charter school in New Hampshire. The funding for it was always being cut. We had to fire a janitor. We had to move several times just to be able to survive. I'm wondering how your funding would be for public schools and charter schools as well.
Well, my funding, I'm not in favor of privately run charter schools. And as I said, if we are going to have a strong democracy and be competitive globally, we need the best educated people in the world. And I believe in public education. I went to public schools my whole life. So I think rather than give tax breaks to billionaires, I think we invest in teachers and we invest in public education. I believe in that.
I'm in my second year of nursing school, and Thank you. I was just wondering how your healthcare idea would benefit healthcare workers.
It would benefit healthcare workers enormously. In fact, I'm very proud to have the endorsement of the National Nurses United Union. Which is the largest nurses union in the country. And here's how it benefits. Nurses and doctors, vast majority of them, work extremely hard trying to help us when we're ill or trying to keep us from getting ill. And I talk to nurses and doctors all over this country who say, we cannot do the job we want to do. We have a situation where 20% of the people cannot afford to fill the prescriptions that their doctors write, okay? Because it's too expensive. They have a situation where people are walking into the doctor's or nurse's office much sicker than they should have been because they don't have any health insurance or they had high deductibles which prevent them coming in. So for you to do your job well, we need a system which A, guarantees health care to all people, substantially lowers the cost of prescription drugs, emphasizes primary health care, so people can get to see a doctor or a nurse when they need it, much greater emphasis on dental care, so we have affordable dental care in this country. That's how you can do your job better.
Thank you.
First off, as a female graduate student in the working class who's a social worker at a community mental health center, thank you. You touched upon it briefly, so I apologize if my ignorance didn't get it, but we have a lot of military men and women who are being tricked out of their education benefits, who aren't getting the medical care that they need. Right. My husband, one of them, who is in debt for medical bills, and I'm wondering what can we do for those servicemen and women who aren't getting the care that they deserve?
Okay. As the former chairman of the Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs, we passed the largest, most comprehensive veterans health care bill in recent history, which put $5 billion directly into the VA to make sure that our men and women with their lives on the line to defend us get quality health care in a timely manner, all right? And we did some other things as well. So, I don't know the exact situation with your husband, but first of all, I believe we should open up the VA, and I introduced legislation to do that, to all veterans regardless of their income. All right, that's number one. Number two, I want the highest quality care possible. Number three, if veterans are getting ripped off through some public, some for-profit schools, is that what it was? It is.
Well, it was systematics within the educational benefits, I guess you can say.
All right, what we passed, I don't know if you took advantage of it, but we passed a post-9/11 GI Bill. And what that did is make sure that all of the people who served in the military would have the opportunity to get a college education, similar to the GI Bill of World War II. We can talk about it later. How's that, rather? If you have a question, why don't you come on up afterwards?
That'd be wonderful.
Okay, thank you. I'll be here. Okay. Where's the mic? I don't see it. Oh, mic back there. Okay. Yeah.
Hi, I'm wondering how you will support caretakers nationally and within our state right now. I have a 14-year-old daughter who is on palliative care. We are approved for 60 hours of in-home nursing and currently receiving nothing of it. We're in a predicament where we're having to think about placing her at a facility, which is more expensive.
You have touched on, thank you for raising that issue. Did everybody hear the question? In this case, there is a mom whose daughter needs a substantial amount of care. What we are seeing in America as we age is more and more family members are spending more and more time taking care of loved ones. And by the way, that is true for the veterans community as well. And that you have often wives staying home with their husbands who are dealing with PTSD or other serious issues. It is a crisis and it is getting worse. And it's a crisis that we have got to recognize. Within the VA, what we are trying to do within the VA is to make certain that people who stay home with loved ones get the support and the compensation they need, because it's the right thing to do, and it saves us substantial sums of money of keeping people at home where they prefer to be rather than institutionalizing them. But second of all, your point is an excellent point. What happens is somebody stays home, they are not working, earning income, and it makes that situation even worse. So I do believe we need to think hard about an aging society and making sure that if somebody is taking care of somebody who needs help in one way or another, we get financial support to them, because it is better for the individual to stay at home rather than be institutionalized, and it is better from a cost-effective point of view to approach the issue in that way. So you've touched on a very, very big issue, needs a lot more discussion, but thank you very much for raising it. Okay, maybe two more questions. Got one there? Okay.
Hello, Senator Sanders. You have spoken a lot, of course, about a living minimum wage, $15 an hour minimum wage. And one of the prime reasons that a lot of people would be scared about a $15 minimum wage, why a lot of people would oppose it, I'm not saying I oppose it, I'm very much for it, is because they fear that companies will use it as an excuse to move more and more jobs overseas. And you have, of course, talked as well about a lot of trade deals which have moved more and more jobs overseas. What can you say to people who are concerned that a $15 minimum wage might take jobs away from the country because companies are not willing to pay them?
I don't think that will be the case. I think many of the $15, the low-wage jobs in this country are primarily in the service industry. People who are selling you hamburgers and etc. And I don't think that they are going to be leaving the country. And I'll tell you why I think raising the minimum wage to $15 over a period of a couple of years is good for the economy. Because if we put money, disposable income, into the hands of working people, they are then going to be able to go out themselves and buy goods and services that they could not afford to do today. And when somebody goes out and buys goods and services, they are themselves creating more jobs. So I think it makes eminent sense to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. You're going to bring millions of people out of poverty. You will stimulate the economy, and I strongly support doing that. Okay, maybe one last question. Where is the mic? Yeah, I've got a mic over there. Yeah.
Senator Sanders, what's happened in the last few weeks as far as financial? I really recommend people see The Big Short, which is a new movie out that's doing an incredible job. I'm a bit of an investor, and I feel that I have to invest fully understanding that the system is rigged. I'd appreciate it if you could clarify a little bit what you say about taxing Wall Street speculation. Thank you.
For two reasons. Yes, we are proposing a Wall Street speculation tax which will serve several purposes. Number one, this is not a radical idea. It exists in other countries, in fact used to exist in the United States. What it will do is tamper down speculation, and speculation is not good for our economy. Second of all, it will raise very, very substantial sums of money with a very modest tax. And by the way, we exclude middle-class investors from having to pay that tax. So this will be a tax primarily put onto people who can afford to pay it. It will raise very substantial sums of money, and in this case, we're going to use that money to make public colleges and universities tuition free.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much for being here. We have a chance on primary day here in New Hampshire to make history. I think we're going to do well in Iowa. I think if we do well here, we win in Iowa, we win in New Hampshire. We're looking at the biggest political upset in the modern history of America. Please come out and vote. your friends and your relatives, we can win here in New Hampshire, and then we begin the process of transforming our great country. Thank you all very much.
That was good, huh?
And it bugs me when they talk about hospitals and they only talk about doctors and nurses.
Oh yeah, that's hospital. Certainly not the only people who work in hospitals.